Hello. I need permission to share your screen, apparently.
Why?
I need to go to security, privacy, screen recording. Okay. Okay, just give me a second. Settings, that's privacy. Security. Sorry. Okay, go security and privacy. Security and privacy. Okay. Go to security and privacy, screen recording.
You should have a button on the top, button for share. You see that?
I've got more meeting info, devices, video effects and settings, captions, call me.
To the right, on the buttons on the right, share. You know what? Email me the presentation and I will share.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's probably easier if we do that.
Good afternoon or morning or evening. Yeah, sorry, I saw I joined a bit early.
We will start shortly. In a few minutes, we still have about 7 minutes, so people will join. Let's.
I just sent you the presentation.
Okay, let's see. Let's see. You see it?
Yep.
Everyone will start in a few minutes. Let's wait a few minutes if the people wants to join. We'll record it in any way, just in case. Okay, so let's start. Welcome everyone for the IC Code Saturn presentation. I'd like to introduce Charles Moneliek, right, from STFC. Talk to you about the application a little bit and about the task. Charles, go ahead. I will move the slides.
Okay, thank you very much, Ophir, for the introduction. So my name is Charles Moulinek, and I work in the UK at UKRI STFC. So if you could move to next slide, please. So this is the content of the talk. So there's a short introduction about what we do at STFC, partly that's part of the work we do. So then I'm going to give an overview of the characteristics and features of the code. There's no mesh generator in Code Saturn. And so going to show how it's possible to generate massive meshes that we're going to use to test on and show the results on CPU machines here. Then show how the partitioning tools are handled for distributed memory machines. Then some results in terms of performance on solving the PDEs. In our case, is the Navier-Stokes equation. Present some results on the accuracy of the software, and before concluding with the online test case, we're going to show also some performance of the IOs. So next slide, please. So what we do at UKRI STFC is one of the 7 research councils in the UK. So if you can see on the map there, that's the sites of STFC in the UK. So we are based at the middle, basically, of the main island, between Manchester and Warrington, and a place called Daresbury. And what we do there is computational science. So we develop methods, and we also optimize software for various fields. For instance, I'm in computational engineering, but we also work with biology, and there are a big division who works with materials and molecular dynamics mainly. Next slide, please. So Code Saturn is a CFD, so computational fluid dynamic software, which is open source since 2007. It's been developed since 1997 by EDF, which is an energy provider in France, and is been used for a wide range of applications. So originally we were developed for EDF energy issues, and mainly for piping flows, and because they were interested in flow around nuclear reactors. But there's many other activity you can deal with. So here is a short sketch of what's possible. So I'm just going to focus on the one you're going to be using for this online test, which is on the top right, Lagrangian particle tracking. So which basically is that the CodeSatune is a mesh-based method, but you can also track particles within this mesh. And so that's what's going to be looked at, as I said before, in this online case. So if you want more information on those applications, just don't hesitate to contact me, okay? So next slide, please. So in terms of technology, CodeSatune is based on the finite volume methods. So it's a mesh-based method, as I said before. It can handle any type of meshes, but it doesn't have its own mesh generator. So, I mean, the meshes have to be generated outside the software. Even if some features are possible to merge or join meshes or to increase their size. So there's over 100,000 lines of codes. It's mainly written now in C and C++, and some CUDA as well to offload to GPUs. There's only 5% Fortran left, and Python is used to manage simulation and configuration, and also some results sometimes. So the code was primarily written in Fortran in 1997, but I mean, the move towards C and C++ is to make it more compatible with new architectures of hardware. So there's another discretization, which is more internal to EDF now, which is used for special physics and not only for computational fluid dynamics, which it calls CDO, but we're not going to touch this during the exercises here. MPI is used for distributed memory machines, and OpenMP for shared memory and CPUs, and CUDA for GPU acceleration. Physical modeling deals with mainly laminar and turbulent flows. So in the case when the flow is more chaotic, you need to model it, and there are several turbulence models available depending on the case, depending on the physics, and the accuracy and the compute time available as well. So here's a list of the modules, some of the modules which are available in the code, which relate to the previous slide actually. And the code is very flexible and portable to Unix, Linux, and Mac OS machines. And for Windows, you need to use the virtual machine available there with a Linux installation. It's also possible to couple the code with other software, for instance, to add some structural mechanic, if you want to do free structural interaction, for instance, or conjugated transfer with other softwares. And this is done through an internal library called PLE. Next slide, please. So I think this slide is one of the most important one here because it shows the sketch or the tool chain, how to use the software. So the meshes on the left-hand side are provided externally, and then they're read by the preprocessor. The preprocessor is serial. The GUI, which is on top of this preprocessor box, is also serial. So you're going to use it to set up most of the case. There are also user subroutines required when the GUI functionality do not exist. So in the online case, you are going to have a mix with setting up the case on the GUI and then using some user subroutine for some of the boundary conditions and also for some of the source terms which are going to be required for the flow to develop. So all this part on the left-hand side is serial. And then if you move to the kernel, which is basically the main part of the software, all these things is massively parallel. And a lot of it have been ported to GPUs as well. So the post-processing is is also serial. So now, I said before, we don't have mesh generators in Saturn, but it's possible to load several meshes and to glue them together when even when the matching surface is not conformal. So on the bottom left, you get an example of non-conformality. And in this case, extra faces are added to the original mesh to make it conformal. And then these faces become fluid faces. So it's possible to use this, and this is massively parallel as well. So next slide, please. So the other option to generate large meshes is to multiply, it's called multiply the meshes, or to globally refine the meshes. So basically from one cube, you get 8 of them, and it applies also to tetra, to prisms and pyramids, but also to polyhedral cells. And this is done in parallel and is extremely quick. So on the next slide, we show some timings. So for this mesh generation, so these are results which were obtained quite some time ago on a Blue Gene Q. So that was probably 10, 12 years ago now. That was located in, that Blue Gene Q was located in Argonne. And from a mesh which had already 26 million cells, we use 4 types of mesh multiplication to go to 105 billion cell meshes. So to give you an idea, the mesh you're going to use for the online test would have 9 million, about 10 million of cells. So this is quite a few order of magnitude more for the test we run here. So the mesh multiplication timings are in red, and you can see they're very, very, very fast. And even for the 13 billion cell mesh, over 1.5 million MPI tasks. This, just to justify, this was just not just an exercise, but this would be required if we would want to run the flow in a full nuclear reactor. We would need much, much larger meshes than that just to run something which would be meaningful. Next slide, please. So now that we've got a strategy to generate meshes, we need to distribute them along the processors. So there are 2 types of partitioning available in Code Saturn. One is internal. So this is this one, the geometry one, which is based on a mapping between 3D, 2D or 3D towards 1D, using space filling curve strategies based on Morton piano or Z morphology, or Hilbert one. So these 2, as I said, are internal. And basically, if you go from, in this case, from a 2D line, and this line goes through all the center of the cells of the mesh. And when you are generating this 1D array, you actually split all the, you split this line according to the number of processor or subdomain you want to deal with. Sorry. So in the next slide, we show the some of the results and some of the distribution you get depending on the partitioning you're using. So on the right side, you get what is obtained with Hilbert, space filling curves partitioning. On the left-hand side is when using an external library called PT-Scotch. And at the bottom, you've got an example of distribution if no proper renumbering is done. And in that case, you can see that the colors are all over the place, which means that all the processors are going to talk to each other. And in the case of the 2 of the strategies, each subdomain will only have a reduced number of subdomains to exchange information with. So it's very important to use the right partitioning tool. So next slide, please. So now we look at the PDE. So that's basically the solver. I said before, we solved the Navier-Stokes equation, and sometimes we add some temperature to it. So there's basically, the way it works is that we've got a velocity that is predicted. That velocity is used to compute a pressure. And then the pressure gradient is used to update the velocity, the original velocity. So we've been running some tests. That's quite, as I said, quite some time ago now, about 12 years old, 12 years ago, sorry, on Mira in Argonne and up to their full machine. So we were using about 3 million threads with a mix between MPI and OpenMP. And the same test case or similar test case was run in Germany. And you can see that the time to solution nicely reduces, and the efficiency is probably about 95% on the left-hand side. So if we go to the next slide, please. So more recent simulation have been run on an HP Cray machine, still CPU based, and on 4,000 nodes of the machine, which is probably 80% of the machine, 90% of the machine. The efficiency was 92%. And compared to 93% when we were using on BlueGenQ. So basically, all to say that the code is ready to handle massively parallel simulation and very, very large. And you will see that later is not only for the solver part. And so what's needed now is to check the accuracy of the solver. So this is shown in the next slide. And yeah, thanks. So we use a test case that we can easily refine. So it's a box of 1 by 1 by 1. And in this box, you've got 8 vortices, which actually going to interact with each other and decay and interact with each other. And so when solving the equation, we compute some quantities like the one on the bottom left, which is called the entropy. And this is a test case which is very much used in CFD to assess accuracy of software. So the spectral code is the best you can get with in CFD, and Code Saturn results compare well when we use an 8 billion cell mesh. So next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, the solver works very well, but the I/O performance is also key when you go to these scales. And at the moment, MPI I/O is implemented in the code and is still good. That's been for a while now, and it still gives very good results. For the 1.105 billion cell mesh, after generating the mesh, we generated it. We first loaded the 26 million mesh, which was not that big, and then on the fly generated this 105 billion mesh, which was then dumped on the disk to get a file of about 20 terabytes. And so the software could do that in about 40 minutes on half million MPI tasks. So that was quite important for us because dumping the mesh is not really compulsory, but checkpointing is. So basically, when you run large simulation like this, I mean, this simulation can last for weeks. So given the hold time limit of the queuing system, which is usually 12 or 24 hours, we need an efficient tool or strategy for IOs to dump all the data required for the next simulation on the disk. And checkpointing takes about 10 to 12 minutes, which is not too bad given the size of the mesh for the 105 billion cell mesh. So this was using a GPFS system. And so I think that's also the system on PSE. So the IO shouldn't be a problem on the machine. So next slide, please. So now going to the test case you are going to look at, it's a flow in a model kitchen. So in this case, we are going to look at the distribution of particles generated by cooking, because the release of this particle is a primary factor for cardiovascular and respiratory diseases. And over 44% of deaths globally are caused by this household air pollution. And what's going to be computed is the distribution of these particles in the kitchen. And as we found that it was important to show this kind of things, because it's apart from smoking, this is what creates the most death within houses. So if you go to the next slide, please. This is actually a simulation which was carried out to simulate the flow in a model kitchen, so which was based first in Chester and then in York in the UK. And so this kitchen is set with anemometers and particulate matter sensor to check the the density of this particle. And in the real experiment, it was run for 12 minutes. And in your case, it's going to be for 50 seconds. Next slide, please. So here are the tasks for this application. So the idea is to run it on 4 CPU nodes using MPI only, and to submit the results. That will show that the case is set up properly. So you will have first to set up the case on your own laptop without running anything on the laptop, but setting up the case there. That would include using the GUI and using the user subroutines. So this is all explained in the tutorial. And then you will run the simulation on bridges. So you will copy over the whole case code station study on PC, run the simulation there, and copy back the results that will have to be visualized using PowerView, which is a visualization software which is open source. And then the idea is to submit this short video that's going to be generated. And then by changing the setup XML file, which is the file, which is the default file issued by the GUI, you will be asked to disable most of the outputting on the disk, and to try to, in order to compare the timing of the simulation with the timing of the obtained in the first task. And finally, you will have to experiment between MPI and OpenMP to check which is the best configuration to run this test case. And this comparison will also have to be submitted. And there's a bonus to run this test case on one GPU on a single node. So I think that's it for me. The next slide is some acknowledgement to Yvan Fournier, who is the main developer of the software, and Harriet Jones, who helped me to set up the case. And then I would like to thank you. And if you have any question, please don't hesitate to ask.
Thanks, Charles. Anyone has any questions regarding the application or the presentation? I can just say. We are also on the Slack, so remember that if you get questions along the way, you can use that, and we'll monitor and try to help you on that. No questions? I mean, everyone knows everything? Looks good.
That's very good.
Yeah, I have a question on my side. So just curious, you said about the kitchen that is second death after kind of smoking. So that's from the gases that burned over the oven,
Yes, not only the gas, but what I mean, what emanate from the particles which are released. If when you're going to see the video, you can see that these particles are going all over the place.
Yeah.
And they are kind of burn particles as well. You see. So this also has an impact on the respiration or breathing of people, and then that can cause pneumonia and all these issues. So it looks like it has a bigger impact to very young people and older people.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Okay, so if no questions for now, which is fine, I would say start experiment with the application, and if you have any questions as we go, just let us know and try to support you. We will have the interviews in mid-May for the teams, and you will prepare a few slides to talk about each application and what results you got. And later on, I will send you each one a drive location, OneDrive, to upload the results there for each team. So expect that. And I think I want to thank Charles for the presentations and the support. We had a lot all the year. We have different discussions along the way, only for you, for the teams. So hopefully, use it and enjoy it, and hopefully it will help you with your career. And any last words, Charles?
Yes. Yeah, so there's a question in the chat from Joseph Moore. No, I mean, we went for the Lagrangian particle tracking for the online example because there were more time, but it's going to be pure CFD for the in-person team competition. So it should be a little bit easier in theory.
Yeah. So for the in-person, which we'll try to make, because the time is very short, we have only 3 days, and we try to make things not too complicated to make sure everyone, will have a chance to finish it. And we have a lot of applications and tasks for the in-person. It's going to be very intense. So, it's a competition, so in one way we'll try to help, but still it's going to be hard, or it's somewhat hard, and the whole amount. So, but participating in the online will be helpful for the ones that are but wants to do the in-person one.
Yeah, probably what we're going to do in the in-person one is that we are going to still have an advanced CFD case, but we probably going to use this checkpointing and restart. So for people who would have followed and know how to use code Saturn, it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. So again, thanks everyone. Thanks, Charles. In half an hour, we have the SASOL session, so join us. And for anything, just contact us on Slack, and we'll try to support you.
Yep.
Okay, so bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, thank you.
Check out later. Okay, bye.